Hi, my name is Amanda. As I said in my last video, I'm going to be talking about the transition from breastfeeding to bottle feeding. Another thing that I'm going to talk about to begin with is a couple of my friends' experiences of not being able to breastfeed and having to go to the bottle a little bit earlier than they wanted to. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences of being able to breastfeed and then going to the bottle. First of all, I'm going to talk about my one friend who was bottle feeding pretty much from day 12, I think even a little bit earlier. She found that her milk did not come in at all. She had her child latching on absolutely fine, but after she thought that the child had finished her feed, the baby was still crying. So after 12 days of going through that, she introduced formula. And the baby was a content baby and very happy because she had a full tummy and she was a completely changed baby. And I asked my friend, so how did you feel about going to formula a little bit earlier than you wanted to? And she said that, to be honest, she felt a little bit depressed and very guilty. And I said, was there any pressure on you of not breastfeeding? And she said, no, to be honest, the only person that pressured her was herself. And coming to terms with not breastfeeding, I think she kind of struggled with, and she felt very guilty. But after a while of giving the bottle, she finally came to terms with it. Another thing that she talked about was her midwife, and I said, oh, did you get much support from your midwife? And she said, well, no, actually she didn't with this midwife. I'm not too sure who this midwife is, and I'm not going to say any names, but this midwife said to her, why aren't you breastfeeding? Why have you given up? And that didn't help matters at all. So that's one of my friends. She's quite happy now. The baby is absolutely healthy. You wouldn't even notice that she wasn't breastfed at all. And she's happy as well with her decision. The next person I want to talk about is one of my good friends. We're in the same antenatal group, and we had our children about 2 days apart. I had absolutely no issues with breastfeeding. My baby pretty much latched on straight away. She was absolutely fantastic at breastfeeding. Now, for my friend, it was a different matter. She struggled with getting her baby to latch on. Latching was a huge issue for her. She found that her nipples were quite raw. I think they had like cuts and everything like that in it because it was just so sore for her. She had steam treatment, she got lactation consultants, she was expressing, and on top of that she had a crying baby because this baby was just not getting enough. Now I know a lot of people think, oh, you should tough it out, but for her it was a little bit different. She just wasn't enjoying it at all. And another thing is the baby wasn't enjoying it. The baby was just so unhappy. We also shared the same midwife, and our midwife was fantastic. She was great. We had fantastic deliveries with her. What I thought was interesting, and I think you might find quite interesting as well, is that our midwife had to come to me to tell me to give advice to my friend to think about stopping with the breastfeeding. Purely because they're not allowed to say to the person that's wanting to breastfeed that they should stop and give advice about bottle feeding. So I thought that was quite interesting that our midwife had to come to me to talk to my friend. I did talk to my friend about it, and she did feel a little bit better about someone else just giving her a little bit of advice and saying it's not bad for her to stop breastfeeding and giving the baby a bottle. She's not a bad person for doing that. And I think that just being there supportive is huge for a person. Just, even letting them know if they are still trying to breastfeed that they're doing a good job, and, just not making them feel bad. So eventually, after I think a week of her still trying and getting lactation consultants, she came to terms with maybe the bottle is best, and she did give her baby the bottle, and he was absolutely happy. He was a completely different baby when he had that bottle. He was sleeping well. My friend was even completely different. She was happier. They were both sleeping well. She could actually enjoy her baby without thinking, oh my gosh, my baby's not getting fed enough. A thing that she also found out was that her baby was tongue-tied. So if your baby is struggling with latching, that could be something that you could talk to your midwife or doctor about. I think it's definitely worthwhile. Worthwhile talking to them. As I say, I'm not a healthcare professional or I'm not a nutritionist, so what I'm saying is just from experiences, my friends and myself. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about me. I, for both babies, had no problems with breastfeeding. Absolutely no problems with latching, no problems with the amount that they were getting. But it was me that had the problem. I breastfed my first till she was about 6 months. I've breastfed my boy till he was about 4 months. A lot of people are probably thinking, well, why did you give up when you weren't struggling? Well, for me, I was struggling. I was struggling with, I'm sure a lot of mothers hear this, and a lot of mothers are like, well, that's really no excuse. But for me, I was struggling with the fact that I was having to share my body. I mean, how selfish is that? But it was really getting me down. I felt like I didn't have energy. I felt like I wasn't getting that whole bonding moment that a lot of mums get, and I'm really jealous about that because I just can't understand the bonding. And I think that when I do see a mother just really enjoying breastfeeding, really enjoying that little moment with their baby, I'm envious of it because I just don't have it. I find that I bond with my baby a little bit more when I'm bottle feeding the baby. I know that's really sad, but it's true. So I found that I did a lot of expressing with both of them. I expressed milk and gave the bottle probably around when they're about 4 weeks old, and I found that was really good. That was a really good tip. One of my friends said to me, make sure your baby has a bottle a little bit earlier on because you don't want to struggle with your baby not taking the bottle later on down the track. I mean, it is great for them to be able to take the bottle if you're wanting to go out for an evening or do something during the day where your husband can feed your baby. I'm a true believer in expressing. I think expressing is fantastic. But it's pretty time consuming and it does take a lot out of you, so make sure you have a big glass of water. So how I transitioned my little boy to take formula, I expressed milk and gave a little bit of formula, and I just gradually upped that formula until eventually I didn't have to express at all. And he's been now taking the formula absolutely fine, no issues at all. Another thing to consider is what bottle to use. I found that with my firstborn, she tended to like the Avent bottles, but with my secondborn, he seems to like the Tommee Tippee bottles, which are the ones that look like nipples, which is quite funny because he absolutely loved breastfeeding. So it was a little bit upsetting for me to go to the bottle for him. But now he doesn't remember, and I'm a completely changed person. So go ask your friends if they've got different varieties of bottles. Don't go out buying a whole lot of different bottles. Choose what works best for you and commit to one bottle, because I think that they tend to feed better if they know what that one bottle is. Another thing that one of my friends told me about actually last night was quite an awesome little tip, was when you tighten the bottle and shake the formula and obviously heat it, before you feed the formula, just untwist it just a little bit, because that allows the air to get out and it helps with the sucking. And I actually tried it this morning and it actually is a really good tip. Another thing that I did was, because I struggled with Mace and getting him onto the bottle, was talk to my Plunket nurse. She was fantastic. She came to my house and she gave me a few tips on how to feed my little boy at the bottle. First tip she told me was to squeeze the cheeks just ever so slightly so that the lips would go like this. Another tip she gave me was also just placing your hand lightly underneath the chin to keep that latch just a little bit longer. Another thing she said for breastfeeding was actually just compressing like a C on your breast, and that seems to just get the milk out a little bit faster and also helps get the fatty milk out. So that was really cool. So, I mean, if you are struggling, make sure you do get in contact with your Plunket nurse because they've got some fantastic advice and they're there to help us. What's another thing? Formula. I know that they've got measurements on how much formula your baby should have during the day, whether it's 4 to 5 feeds of 200 mils. Don't be stressed out about how much your baby has. I mean, just because it says 200 mils doesn't mean that they have to be drinking 200 mils. Your baby is the best guide on how much they want. When your baby decides they're finished, they'll let you know. And normally, even if it's 100 mils, because normally with the next feed, they'll probably have a little bit more anyway. So that's pretty much all I've got to say. For the next one, I'm going to talk about a few baby things that I've bought that I found that's fantastic from our kids. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks.